This disease plagues so many different women across the globe, and it's more talked about now than it was when I had it. So I'm glad to see that people are advocating for it. People are advocates for it. Also, people are giving solutions for it at this point. And also, we're into more holistic methods, whereas before, when I was diagnosed, there was nothing holistic, no holistic options. People rarely talked about it. So if you're wondering what I'm here to talk about, it is endometriosis. I am sharing my journey with endometriosis, how I actually got rid of it, yes. And we're all individuals, so it may be different for everyone, but I actually did get rid of it. I was one of the worst cases in the history of having endometriosis, honest. I have pictures here, all documented. And so I'm going to get into that. I'm going to show you, express to you, for those of you who have no clue what it is, I'm going to talk about what it is, what it's like to live with endometriosis, your options of prevention, your options to get rid of it, as well as what you can do to, raise more awareness, but awareness with a purpose, because there's a lot of people just talking about endometriosis and not telling people that there is a solution. And there is a solution to everything. So I cannot wait to share my journey with you. It has been a very long journey, but before I continue, I just want to introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm Avishai L., international best-selling author, a spiritual medium, and holistic health coach, teaching you how to obtain and sustain a healthy lifestyle through alternative holistic methods. My journey began with endometriosis when I was 15 years old. I remember where do I begin with this? It was an awful journey. So I remember being 15 and being in school and always being nauseous, always feeling bloated, feeling like I was going to vomit. And for those of you who have no clue what endometriosis is, well, you have a lining in your uterus if you're a woman. Okay, it's the endometrium lining, right? And it's supposed to line the uterus. What happens with people with endometriosis is the lining that's supposed to line your uterus on the inside decides that it wants to take its ass outside of the uterus and attach itself to different organs. It starts in the reproductive, but it travels everywhere. And in my case, it traveled everywhere, which I'm going to discuss. So I just wanted to explain that to you for people who are very, very, very lost. So people with endometriosis usually experience heavy, painful periods, lengthy periods, terrible pain, which we'll dive more into. So back to my journey. I was 15 years old, and I remember vividly watching my nephew, who's about 2 years old at the time, very, very high energy little boy. And I was playing around with him. We were jumping and everything, and he was a typical little boy, so it's very active. It's always like a party every time I went to visit him. And I went into the bathroom because all of a sudden I'm jumping and I'm getting ready to projectile vomit, and I went to the toilet to actually throw up. And at this time I weighed 135 pounds, but I had the stomach of a 6-month-old pregnant woman. And I always had irregular periods. I started my menstrual cycle when I was 10 years old. And that was shocking. And my mom was actually scared for me. When she found that out, I was like, well, I got my period when I was 10 years old. And I just remember having periods for like 2 weeks, which wasn't normal. Horrible PMS where I'd be jovial, and then the next day I was like, who are you again? It was weird. My moods were all over the place. So there were already signs of difficulties to come, I should say, because you're not, like I said, you're not supposed to have a menstrual cycle for 2 weeks. I would look like I had on a diaper. That's how big my pads were. I remember the girls in school, they were wearing like tampons and little maxi pads, and the things you stick up, the vagina and all of this stuff. And I was like, oh, that's great that you get to do that. But I'm like flowing like a river. It's not stopping. So I had to go to school with a big ass pad made from paper towel. So I would wrap it at least, no exagger, at least 10 times around, most likely more. It was this long, and this wide. And somehow I disguised it. I used to wear like a panty girdle. I used to wear 3 panty girdles plus a big ass pad to school from the time I was 10 to the time I was 23 years old, dealing with this. Or was it 23? Yes, it was 23. That's when I got rid of it. So I was diagnosed with, well, I'll go back to that. Let me go back a little bit further. So before I was diagnosed, I went to a few doctors. Now, the first doctor that I went to when I went to the hospital said I had heartburn. Another doctor said I had IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, gave me Metamucil, and it burned out of my stomach. So gave me Metamucil. I was having like burning sensations. I said, well, I can't take this anymore because I'm not gonna burn. You know, it felt like I was on fire. So I stopped taking that. I went to another woman at the hospital who did an ultrasound, did, the standard Western machines that people use. And she said, I don't see anything, right? So I'm like, I'm bloated. At this time I had edema too, so I had to wear slippers to school. Fluffy, furry slippers to school, and had to take the elevator. Needed a doctor's note to take the elevator because they didn't know anything was wrong with me at the time, but they knew something was wrong. They didn't know it was endometriosis. So I'm like feeling a little frustrated because I'm like, this is not all in my head. I can't move at times. I have shooting pain up my rectum. I am not able to, maneuver correctly, right? So she tells me to take Prilosec, right? They gave me the wrong prescription and gave me Prevacid, and my mom's sitting there. My mom was so frustrated at the time. She said, you're not taking that. Because it was for heartburn. It was for heartburn. I was like, well, it didn't go for heartburn. And Prilosec, I was like, what is that gonna do? So they had no clue what it was. So it took a doctor who was well-versed in endometriosis to get another, I was gonna say reading, I'm a spiritual medium, but to get another test going. And she said, oh my God, she has endometriosis. So during this time, I'm going to get my permit, trying to get like my driver's license and stuff. So I talked to my mom that same year, that same day when I went to get my permit. It was like such a great day, right? And she called, she said, you have to have surgery because they saw it was endometriosis. And the cyst, you have a cyst on your ovary and it's the size of a plum. I was so pissed. I was like, so you mean to tell me that the lady didn't see anything, but they were able to track it and find it. So I was scheduled to have my first surgery, which is on the back of this picture. And I do want to warn you, I am going to show graphic pictures. If your stomach gets a little queasy, then I advise you to skip it. If you are interested in seeing the anatomy inside my body at the time when I was 16, then feel free to stay, okay? So this was taken, and I'm gonna cover up all of this shit, okay? Okay, so it was, I don't know if you could see it. There's the date. Ooh. I don't know if you could see it, but it was April 18th, 2006. Okay, April 18th, 2006. And when I got there, they had, they took pictures because they did a laparoscopy surgery. I had to have 3 incisions. So I had 1 in my belly button. I had 2 more. I don't know if you could see. Let me see if it'll show. They're kind of old, they're older scars. Let me see. I don't think it's gonna show on here unless I stand up. Let's see. You see? There's 1 there. And then The other one is right there. Where are you? The little one, okay? And then I had one in my belly button. And those were the first 3 incisions. So let me show you how it looked like inside. This looks like a baby inside, but that's not a baby. That is a cyst on my ovary. Do you see it? There you go. There's the cyst on my ovary. Then you have chocolate cysts right here. It looks like a galaxy, right? Because we're resemblant of galaxies. But it's not, it's in the wrong spot. It's supposed to be where your uterus is, not right there. So those are chocolate cysts. Okay, this is inside my stomach. This is my, I want to say fallopian tube. This is my, something wrapped around my ovary, okay, at the time. Again, this looks like a baby. By this time, my cyst was the size of a grapefruit. That is like a little much. There's the cyst, there's my stomach. That's what was sitting on top of my ovaries, and I had a busted fallopian tube in the process. So imagine a 16-year-old being told that you have a busted fallopian tube and you have stuff wrapped around your ovary. Instantly devastated because I'm a woman, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about that for that specific conversation between me and my doctor as to how I felt after finding this out. You can certainly read my book. I Made It Out, available on Amazon. It is a bestseller in the child abuse category, which I appreciate. Not right now, but it was a best seller in the child abuse category. So those were my pictures, okay, from April 18th, 2006. So that was my first surgery. During this time, they were experimenting with different, estrogen pills like estradiol, low estrin, norethindrone. I hate norethindrone. I hated it. Various things, different things. I was taking hydrocodone, ibuprofen. So after this surgery, I'm thinking this is the end. Like Adele in Skyfall. You know, I'm thinking this is the end, but I had to have another surgery because it came back. So what I want to tell you is that although you may have surgery, there are chances that it will come back. Why? Because the doctors are not getting at the root cause. The root cause is not endometriosis. Endometriosis is never the root cause. The root cause is what caused endometriosis. So that's what they were not getting at. That's what they were ignoring, okay? So during this time, after I had the surgery, it was about, wasn't it like a 6-week recovery? 6 weeks to like be back in school. But then after that, there was still some recovery that needed to be done. And that was a bit of a painful process. It felt like I was hit by a truck. And although it was numb, it felt like my body was separate. My bottom half was separate from my top half. It was very debilitating. But after that, it was probably fine for a little bit. And then after, pain came right back. I was still having trouble I was still having vomiting. It got real bad. I was also having trouble walking properly. I was having severe stomach pain to where I wanted to leave the earth at this point because it was debilitating. I remember not even getting up off the couch. The pain was so bad I couldn't even move. The only thing I could do was sit there and cry. This was going on for 8 years. 8 years dealing with this. 8 years dealing with this. So when I was 16, that's when I had the surgery. When I was 17, I was sent to an endometriosis specialist. And at this point, I was going to the hospital every single day. Whether it was before school started or after school, I was going to the hospital every single day, getting blood tests. When I went to the hospital, At this time, it was New Britain General. The first surgery was at Hartford Hospital. The second one was at New Britain General. If you're at the Connecticut area, then you know what hospitals I'm referring to. So I went there every single day. People knew who I was. They're like, hello, you know. And I met with a specialist there who saw that I had to have another surgery. At this time, they were, again, experimenting with me. They put me on the Mirena IUD, so I'm on an IUD. I'm on an IUD. I have severe pain. Again, I'm always getting shooting pain up my rectum until the point where I couldn't breathe. I remember being in the middle of conversations and going like this, like, and having a shooting pain go up my rectum, and when it stopped is when I could finish talking. It literally took the words out of my mouth. It took my breath away. It was terrible. Also having like still bleeding heavy. They were again experimenting with everything. The doctor just kept upping my dosage because he knew how much pain I was in because he could see it. You know, so I was like, hey, I need oxycodone, I need hydrocodone. At this point I was rotating hydrocodone, oxycodone, and ibuprofen on top of him experimenting with Depolupron, then there was Lupron, then there was estradiol, then there was again the norethindrone. Then I was on Yaz, but that came a year later. Yaz, I hate Yaz. It made me gain 42 pounds in 3 months. But back to when I was 17. So they scheduled me for another surgery, and I remember the surgery vividly. Again, at this point, I was not walking upstairs because I couldn't. My feet hurt really, really bad. I remember being over my aunt's house and just falling asleep. I was very tired at this point, not able to move. People at this point didn't recognize it as some sort of disease that was a disability. So you were treated like a normal person, which is frustrating. You know, people start to look at you and you look all glammed up and they're like, nothing's wrong with you. I'm like, well, my doctor says otherwise. And so do these pictures. Because it's frustrating when you don't feel well and people just see you all glammed up. That's why I always tell people, I'm like, okay, so when people pass away, do they look a mess in the casket? No, they're all glammed up. Doesn't mean they don't feel well. They're not alive. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. I felt like I was existing and not really living my life. And I'm young and I'm debilitated. You know, I can't really maneuver how I wanted to, you know, and you're not really thinking about sex because it's painful. You're in pain, you know? So there was no me being like a whore because sex was painful. That was the last thing on my mind. I was back and forth to the hospitals when I was in high school. So anyways, I mean, I thought about it, but I wasn't one that was loose like that. I had interest, love interest, but I wasn't loose, okay? And you'll see in my book, I wasn't loose. There's no possible way. The excruciating pain, sex would have been painful, a lot of it, okay? So just wanted to say that. That was just an aside. So my next surgery was scheduled in June 2007 and at New Britain General Hospital. Oh God. When I get to New Britain General Hospital, I'm all excited to have the surgery because I'm like, this will be my last surgery. We'll get rid of it. And at this time, honestly, I developed a prescription drug addiction, so I was happy to go under anesthesia. Full disclosure, that's also in my book. I'm glad to be sober. Sober now. Anyways, so when I get there is a nurse, the doctor is giving me the pep talk before you have surgery, what's gonna happen, what they plan on doing. So there's a nurse there who smells very funny. She's talking, but I could tell when someone's a little off kilter because I used to drink too, so I can tell when someone's drinking, do the substances. So I can tell when someone's off kilter. I was like, she's not acting right. She was trying to prep me for surgery or giving me an IV. She ended up sticking the needle in my cartilage, which I didn't know that she did that, but she did. So I said, her breath smells funny. I was like, it was odd. My intuition was heightened at this point, so I knew something was off and I just couldn't pinpoint it. So they were like, cool, we're all set. So they bring me into the operating room. and they're putting me under anesthesia, and all I hear is this, and then I hear, oh my God, oh my God. Meanwhile, I'm like, oh my God, I can't do anything. So I'm gone after this point. I wake up to my arm. I'm gonna try to show you the width of my arm. This, you see my arm right here, right? I'm gonna just stick it up. My arm was this big, this width when I got up, almost this width. And they said it was bigger when I was under anesthesia because she ended up sticking a needle in my cartilage, which made my arm swell up. They were frantic because they didn't know if I was gonna die or lose my arm or what have you. And not only that, they said the endometriosis spread everywhere. Now I had stage 4, and stage 4 doesn't always mean that you're in pain, but I was in stage 4 with pain. And it moved from my reproductive system and wrapped itself around my appendix. So they had to do emergency appendectomy on me. So I went from having 3 incisions before to having 4 more incisions and my appendix gone. So they took all of that out. That was for the second surgery. And then I had to be on Mirena IUD. Again, the low estrogen. Again, it was a rotation. If I didn't like something, they just rotated it out. They just made sure that I was comfortable. Kind of like when you're in hospice without being in hospice, they make sure that you're comfortable. So they didn't care how much they were doping me up with. And I actually told a nurse who works for the hospital, she was like, they were trying to destroy, no wonder your liver has problems because they were just doping you up. They were not supposed, my doctor loved me and didn't want me in pain at the time. And she's like, they just doped you up. And they did. They gave me so much medication, it wasn't even funny. I had to be taken off of the hydrocodone because I loved it a little bit too much. But I'm glad it's gone. I don't depend on those anymore. Around when I was 18, that's when I took Yaz, and I got up to weighing 42 more pounds within 3 months. I didn't have another surgery. I do remember when I was 21, I went to the gynecologist. My doctor said miraculously my fallopian tube looked better, as well as my ovaries. I did think he was full of ish when he said that, because I've always like not been trusting of people, especially because I was young. Probably wanted to make me feel better, but that's what he said. He said I was fine in that area. And like I said, you could read more about that in my book to see what happens. So anyways, that was a good reassurance from what he said or whatever, but I can't see inside my body. I have no clue. Different people reassured me of that, because that's really hard to hear as a young girl, that this is what's going on in your body, if you know what I mean, okay? Which I'm not gonna go into too much detail about. But anyway, so when I was 21, I wanna say 21, that's when I started to change my diet. And I started reading Dr. Fuhrman's Eat to Live book, which my mom got me into because she lost 200 pounds and then went to be a holistic health coach. I wasn't giving a F about health, although I got her started on it because I wanted to see her succeed. So she got Eat to Live. So I'm reading Dr. Fuhrman's book and I'm like, let me just try this. So I'm trying his book and I go see the gynecologist and she's like, I don't see any sign of endometriosis. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And I was like, I could have been, I was 21 or 22, okay? She's like, keep doing it, you know? And I remember feeling guilty about still having the Mirena IUD. So I was on it for 7 to 8 years, and I remember the nurse yelling at me. She's like, you wanna take it out? You can't take it out. You wanna take it out? And I was like, yes. So I had it taken out. Cold tofurkey. And I met with a holistic health doctor who had me on some tinctures to lower my period. So I had everything lined up. I did a specific protocol. If you want that specific protocol, well, it's not a specific, if you want a specific protocol, then you would have to work with me. That's a paid service. And I'm more than happy to help you with that. But if you just want my free guide on that, then definitely shoot me an email, okay? It will help you get started to reverse endometriosis. I highly recommend you guys working with me one-on-one to get rid of that. I can certainly help you see results, okay? So within about a year and a half, it was completely gone. And I never went back. I say I fired my gynecologist. I never went back to her again. Never had pain again. My stomach is flat, as you guys can see if you saw the YouTube thumbnail. I don't have a stomach. So that's what I was gonna say too. When I was about 17, the first surgery was fine. I healed fine, but the second surgery, I had a pouch, okay? So it was like flat and then it was a pouch. And I was like, my stomach was always flat. I was like, oh. Besides that, until endometriosis came and just took the life out of me. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? So the doctor said, once you're 18, you could have a tummy tuck. Now, didn't come from a rich family or anything like that. So I was like, well, looks like I'm not having a tummy tuck. So when I got a job, I was like, should I have, when I started working full time as a public school teacher, I was making like $46,000 my first year. And then every year I was gonna make, more. So I was like, maybe I'll consider it. That was in the back of my head, my mind, but I never got it. So what I did instead to get rid of, first of all, I thought that I wasn't able to get rid of it. Second of all, I discovered that doing exercise and switching out some foods that I was actually allergic to is what allowed me to get rid of that pouch. So doing certain exercises to tighten that area, I came up with a unique way of doing it to where I can restructure it to tighten that area that I thought couldn't be tightened, and I don't have a issue in that area. The pouch is completely gone. I don't struggle with that, and I'm just grateful and thankful for exercise and holistic remedies, because there's people across the globe who do get tummy tucks. The only surgeries that I've had was endometriosis, wisdom teeth, and I think that's about it. Oh my God, the person who did my wisdom teeth was a gem. Him and his wife, oh my God, I absolutely adored his spirit. Like, so special, him and her. I was like, oh my God, your couple goals. They were amazing. He was so sweet to me. So sweet. I highly recommend him. But yeah, at the time, this was 2008, I had to have my wisdom teeth out. It was the worst pain ever. They had me on not a good dosage of medication, so I was feeling pain like nobody's business. But yes, so those are the only surgeries I've had. I've never had any reconstructive surgery. Never. I'm a firm believer in just doing stuff the holistic way. I don't put people down that have had, reconstructive surgery or whatever, because it's already done. What are you gonna do? Harp on it. But I'm all natural, organic. I've never done anything. I don't use any creams. I don't use any what have you. I try to stay as natural as possible on my Instagram page. I don't use any filters. That's my face. I don't, agree with altering certain things. I mean, if you want an aesthetic, that's fine, but, So not to get too off topic, I'm just letting you know that's just where I'm coming from. Now, sometimes, obviously when you take videos, sometimes the camera that you're using can drown you out, so no one wants dull lighting. So there are certain edits that you have to make and certain tweaks, you know what I mean? But other than that, I'm not doing any altering my face and putting, certain things on me or altering, anything. I don't believe in that. So I did it the healthy way. I am 100% vegan. I'm plant-based vegan, meaning I eat food from the ground. Food from the ground, not as much processed foods. I do like going out to restaurants and things of that nature, but I don't eat it every day. And it's not horrendous. It's just not what I eat every day. I don't eat maple syrup every day if they use it, or, various products. It's just, okay, I'm going out and there's certain things, but I really am cognizant of what I'm putting in my body. And that's what works for me. Now, what works for you may be different, but I can only speak from my experience. I can only speak from what worked for me. I thought that was never going to go away, and it did. I don't have it anymore. Like I said, you guys see the photos here. I haven't been to the doctor. I'm 32 years old. I've been 9 years now without endometriosis, and I'm super excited. I don't have any edema anymore. I don't have any pain in my stomach. Having pain in my stomach is like foreign to me now, you know? And I just want to give all the women, I'm about to cry because I do feel your pain. It's painful for a lot of you. I know it is. So I just want to offer all of you hope and letting you know that you can get rid of it if you want to. You can prevent it. You know, you are seen, you are heard. And I just want to let you know that I'm here for you guys. I could certainly work with you. I am a holistic health coach. This is what I do. I'm passionate about helping people. I've helped people with gallbladder disease. I'm also a cancer survivor. So I did have an aggressive cancer, rare cancer, but that'll be in a separate video, which I also was able to get rid of, or able to recover properly from, is what I'll say. Because you'll hear more about that in my story as well. But I do want to offer you guys hope and let you know that you're not alone in this journey. Definitely work with me. I can certainly help you with that. I do paid protocols. My prices are my prices. I do payment plans for those who need it, but it is not cheap. But it's not something that's like, oh my God, you know? So I do want to let you know that I'm able to work with you. I'm also able to work with your doctor. I'm trained to work with other people's doctors. I can also read blood tests as well. I also do medical astrology, so which can show you on a deeper level what's going on. So whatever service works for you, let me know in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed, guys. Make sure you're subscribed. You like, comment, hit the notification bell, okay, to see more of these videos. I wish you all the best if that's what you want, and let me know if you're currently struggling with endometriosis, okay? So I hope I didn't miss anything. That's my long journey. I did get off of everything cold tofurkey, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle because my moods were swinging. And I remember hearing from a doctor saying how penicillin was still in his body after 25 years. So there are still some things that are still, you know, in my body because it's very strong. So my moods were swinging for a very long time. I would say it was really bad. I saw a decline in 2016. So if anyone knew me in that year, or a little before, 2015, 2016, up until I want to say 2000, really, it was kind of recent, you know, because my body was detoxing and my health was declining. You could hear all about it in my book. It's a very different story. I was not well at all. So my moods were swinging and my hormones were out of whack. It was hard to keep balance, so I had to adopt a spiritual protocol and everything. Really hone in on my nutrition. I do the best I can every day. You know, being diagnosed with endometriosis, then being diagnosed with cancer, you know, people have to be considerate that people are not going to be themselves because you're dealing with something that you're fighting up against. So just know that I understand that too. If you go from 0 to 1,000, or you cry out of nowhere, or you just don't want to deal with anybody, or you're just in your feels, I hear you, I understand you, and that's fine. You know, those who are on your journey will stay, and those who are not will go. But again, I hope this helped you, and I will see you in the next video. Love, really, peacefuls.